3, 2, 1. Welcome to the Moasure podcast. You're laughing already and I've not said anything. Justin.
No, it's just fun because you're playing with the Moasure puck and flinging it around. And I don't know, I want one to play around with now, but it's
just
okay.
natural. Well, the thing is that this is actually rocket technology, so it keeps kind of like wanting to take off.
Yep, and the crazy thing is it can track all the movements it's making right now, right?
Yeah. I mean, everywhere you go, everywhere you walk around, this thing is tracking you in 3D. But we're here to talk about ArcSite. So, Justin, thank you for coming to the Moasure podcast.
Happy to be here, sir.
Today we have a special guest who makes our lives so much easier. If you're someone who's tried to sketch on the back of a takeaway menu some kind of site plan, and you know who you are, you could be a contractor, a fencer, or a builder. We've all done it furiously, frantically, scribbling away with our chicken scratch writing on dog-eared pieces of paper that could be wet, by the way, and yet later we realize that our, precise measurements look something more like a modern art done by a toddler than anything else. But fear not, because to save the day, we have Justin, Judy. Now, Justin, welcome.
Thank you.
You're part of the brilliant minds at ArcSite. ArcSite being a tool, now I hope I don't get this wrong, but it's a tool that helps contractors, designers, fencers, and a whole plethora of other people within the industry out there and anybody who has a fondness for site plans and straight lines and all that kind of a thing, to turn their scribbles into professional plans without the need for, a degree in ancient hieroglyphics, so to speak.
Yes.
Can you tell us, well, actually, before we get into the ins and outs of ArcSite itself, I want to say welcome to you.
Yes, thank you. No, I really appreciate you having me, and not too many people call my mind brilliant, so I'm part of the minds at ArcSite, yes, but there are more brilliant people behind the technology of this than just me, so I definitely try to help and try to make sure that I can kind of connect the dots between those brilliant minds and the technology that we have in the everyday use cases. So no, I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity to pop on, talk about it, educate people, talk a little bit about our partnership. We've been partners and friends for a while now, so I'm excited to kind of bring more of that to the forefront as we continue to talk.
And we need more Justin Judys in the world to make that connection between what our drawings or blueprints and what actually happens in the dirt, so to speak.
Yeah, so science has their Neil deGrasse Tyson. I like to be like the construction CAD guy. So if people are trying to figure out a way to make complex problems easy, that's really what we aim to do, because the power of CAD has been around for a long time, but it was always limited to engineers and designers and people who had spent a lot of time in the platforms and things like that, right? So we wanted to take that and democratize the benefits to everybody, so that anybody, contractor, residential home services pro, designer, child, anybody could pick it up and use the tool from day one and have success with it without needing to spend 2 hours at a university learning how to use these programs, right? You can use them day one. So that's really what we aim to do, so that way people could gain the benefits without having to spend all that time.
And thank you for that, because we just want to get on with what we love rather than trying to scratch our heads and work out how the blazes to use a piece of software or do something clever. But actually I wanted to ask you now, before we get into the ins and outs of ArcSite in itself, how often or how many times have you looked at a contractor, let's say, that's scribbling on the back of an envelope some kind of site plan, and you've thought to yourself, oh man, there's got to be a better way?
Oh yes, all day, every day, because when people come to us, they're usually trying to solve something, or even when they don't come to us, like we're at FENCETECH this week, right, in Salt Lake City. So I'm spending time just meeting and learning from a bunch of people, whether it's in an education session or on the show floor. So I'll just have candid discussions about their processes today, and some of it's pretty painful. You're going through being like, oh, they could have so many benefits from using this, that, and the other thing, whether it's ArcSite or Moasure or a different piece of technology. They just need help where to go, right? These guys know their trade. They are professional craftsmen. They can design anything. They can build anything, but they don't always know the best tools or the best ways to be the most efficient. Can they get the job done? They'll find a way. But could they save time? Could they save energy? Could they save manpower? Could they save money? Absolutely. So people will come to me with these scribbled up drawings like you're mentioning, and yes, I've seen them where they're like, people have lost them. I spilled coffee on this one, but I still want you to recreate it, and work with them on the best way to do that. So I see it all day, every day, and it's the common thing. It's not the majority of people that are using technological advancements. It's still the pen and paper, grids, carbon copy, white, yellow, pink sheets of paper they're ripping off and putting in different places. This day and age, that's not necessary. There are infinitely better ways to do that, and people just need shown that it's easier than they think.
Having said all that, can you actually tell us that aren't in the know exactly what ArcSite does actually do?
Absolutely. So ArcSite is a drawing tool at its most basic level, right? So ArcSite, you go and you draw, you design, you add lines, you add shapes, you add arcs, you add curves, whatever it is, whether you're a fencer, a landscape architect, or a general contractor, you can create anything on a canvas within ArcSite. Think of it like fancy digital graph paper. If you can draw it with a pencil on paper, you can draw it with a finger or a mouse in ArcSite, because we work on all those different platforms, right? The difference between a normal like drafting or drawing software and ArcSite is all algorithmic based, meaning it takes all of your drawing data and can digest that and translate it into everything from a material list to a signable sales proposal to a DXF or DWG file for the the engineers or architects listening. It gives you the ability to skip steps, because all the people we talked to this week follow some process of I draw it out or sketch it, I go back to my office, I put that data in a spreadsheet, that gives me numbers, I take those numbers and I put it into whatever I do to send out my invoices or estimates, and then if it's like they get it, they want more details, I have to redraw it more professionally because my first one was hand-drawn. They're taking 4 to 5 steps to accomplish something that can be done in one. So it can remove 2 to 3 or 4 steps out of a process and get the exact same result or even a better result in most cases. So we're trying to really just help with the efficiency, gain them time, gain them money, allow them to do more with less. We all know skilled labor is hard to find, especially in the construction market. So if they can do 4 times the amount of work in the same amount of time with a quarter of the people, it solves a lot of their business problems.
I guess we're talking about speed here. So you're saying basically that ArcSite is faster than going the old school route?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, because we have integrations with a lot of leading edge tools too. So like going out and rolling a wheel, does it work? It works, sure, but then you've got to roll it, you've got to notate it down, then you've got to go redigest and redraw that thing. You've got to put it into a different piece of software, you've got to do a bunch of different things. There's no need to have 4 to 5 steps in a process when you can just do one. I mean, we integrate with the Moasure device, obviously, right? And with the new Moasure 2 Pro, you can run a lot longer on single runs and things. So our people here this week have just been singing your praises, not to glorify the host here, but at the end of the day, we integrate with the tool, which makes it even faster because you can simply walk that translate into those ArcSite lines, apply whatever fence you want, because that's where we are, and they have a bill of materials and take off in literally 10 seconds. So it's absolutely insane.
Yeah, that's amazing. So like you can walk around any kind of site using this device?
Yep.
Moasure, doesn't matter how rugged, how complex, how irregular that is, you just walk around it and measures in 3D, you get your total areas and your perimeters and your surface areas and everything else, volumes in between. Somebody just presses a button, just a single, and by the way, you're outdoors, the sun is shining on you, you're loving life with the dirt and you're just there, you can press one button, it cascades straight into ArcSite, and within seconds you've got like, not just drawings, you can get your materials, estimates, bill of materials, price proposal within 5 minutes, let's say, even quicker.
Substantially quicker,
I've seen how you've done it, so it definitely is a lot quicker. I mean, am I speaking is this sorcery? Like what the
No,
blazes
it's
is this?
not. It's just modern technology, and that's what people get worried about, right? They worry that it is sorcery or black magic or something that they don't understand. And when people don't understand something, they're not willing to work with it. They're not willing to put the time in. That just intimidates them. They're comfortable in their current way. So getting out of your comfort zone is something humans, you and I included, don't do well. Sometimes we're more thrill seekers than others. Sometimes there's different adrenaline junkies who want to try new stuff. But at the end of the day, when chosen between a 100% proven method that I know I can do and something that I know may be better but I'm not sure of, it's hard to, you never want to experiment in front of a customer, and people just don't have a lot of time, so they're not willing to really make those leaps of faith. But the people that do are the ones that reap the benefits. Those are what all the leading contractors are doing now. The people scaling at the 100-200% growth rate, the people adding 20 to 30 team members in a year are doing it purely because they're doing it a better way. Like way back when digital marketing first came out, it replaced traditional newspapers and mailers and being on the coffee cup at your local cafe, right? That was the old school way. People who jumped on digital marketing quicker just shot up like rockets, and everybody else was sort of left behind to scramble to catch up. So for anybody listening, I always just say, take a chance, adopt things early, test them out. If they don't work for you, they don't work. No companies really lock you into any sort of long-term contract where you have to use the thing if it doesn't work. So at the end of the day, like, just test it. If you're listening at home today and you want to make sure that you're really in the cutting edge with your business, you're being as efficient as possible, you're getting more from less, these tools are just two of the many that can help you do so.
Yeah, I mean, we all struggle coming out of our comfort zone, but as you say, those ones who are top of their game, they've learned to ride those difficulties and make it work, and actually make it work for them and come up with a better solution than perhaps they would have had in the first place, because they've come against friction and they've got to think clever around it. But you're offering them a solution with ArcSite and obviously Moasure as well, to do something, to measure and design in ways they never thought was possible, and actually spaces that they never thought was possible. To those people who look at this technology, there's a pain point that they're probably thinking, is that pain worth them going through?
Yep. Yeah, people only really make changes for three reasons. It's pain, it's gain, or it's fear of pain, right? There's a problem in their process, they think they can get better, or they're trying to prevent a future problem. If it's not solving one of those three needs, they're probably not gonna mess around with it, right? So some people will contemplate and analyze and think about things for a long period of time. They'll work through all the pros and cons, they'll build spreadsheets, and other people are more impulsive. You know, Warren Buffett famously said the most successful people he knows in the world, they all share one trait. All the billionaires, all the hedge fund managers, everybody who's the most successful, quote unquote, share one trait in common, and that's they make decisions quickly and they try things.
Yeah, not afraid.
Yep, they'll make that decision to try things right off the bat and they'll go with it. And then they'll just trust their instincts. If it doesn't work, they're not afraid to go back. But they will never not try. Yep, exactly.
Can you tell us a bit more about the integration of Moasure's motion-based measuring technology and ArcSite's, CAD Made Easy technology?
Yeah, absolutely. And it came apart, a couple years ago now, when your guys' first device came out. It's obviously had some quite nice advancements from now, but it was purely customer demand. We had so many people that were using our thing and say that it was a lot of the green space guys at the time, the synthetic turf, the outdoor living, the landscaping, the concrete pros, were coming to us saying like, hey, I love your drawing tool, etc. It is hard to get exactly precise when drawing, especially when measuring irregular areas, arcs, curves, flower beds, things like that. And they were like, hey, there's this new tool on the market, have you looked at it? And at the time I hadn't, right? I was like, I don't know what it is. But they came back, I went out, I researched, I'm like, this is pretty neat. So we obviously started having discussions company to company to figure out what that looked like integration wise. And to this day, it's our most used integration. Like official integration, it's our most used one of anything. And we integrate with a million things, including Salesforce and a bunch of CRMs and QuickBooks and etc. But Moasure gets used the most. And I've heard our sales team even this week describe it as our best integration. Meaning, the way we decide what's best is we decide what adds the most value to our customer base. And if they're able to simply walk a project, get it, 99.7% accurate or whatever the number is that you guys have, and spit it out into an exact bill of materials and proposal in a minute, it's life-changing for these guys. Like, I mean, if you're listening and you've ever sat at home at 6:30 p.m. on a Friday or Saturday at noon trying to get proposals out or trying to get jobs bid for a large commercial project instead of going to your kid's basketball game or missing a family dinner or movie night because you're clacking away at your laptop while the family's watching a movie, right? You'd much rather be sitting there with your kids eating popcorn than working on proposals. So the tools nowadays allow you to really get over that hurdle and make sure that you're really spending the time with the why. Because the reason you're running your business and doing these things is to live your personal life, right? At the end of the day, some people get so caught up in the business they forget to live the rest of it that the business is really meant to serve for.
I mean, who wouldn't want that? Back in my day, measuring was like a two-man job, one person to hold the tape and the other one to blame when everything went wrong, kind of a thing, And then, all that paperwork, all that like writing afterwards, burning the midnight oil or a whole afternoon, that's a heavy weight, that's heavy on the soul doing all that paperwork. Yet using Moasure and ArcSite, you're pretty much done in 5 minutes and you're home in time for tea. Yeah. You're saving your friendships on the site as well and potentially your relationships at home. I mean, who wouldn't want that?
No, 100%. And that's what I always tell people is I'm like, listen, like, you want to spend as least time as possible doing quote-unquote monotonous tasks. You want to do things that are value add. You want to start working on your business versus working in your business, right? So if the more time you have to spend towards elective tasks or strategic tasks versus the menial stuff like running around with a wheel and writing a number down, the better.
Can I ask you, like, there's Moasures and ArcSite, there's users out there in the wild, would you believe, using ArcSite and Moasure in collaboration and integration together.
Oh yeah.
What's the kind of feedback they've been giving you?
Yeah, it's been fantastic because like I said, it came apart from customer demand in the first place because most of the people who were demanding it from us had already been loving your tool.
Isn't that amazing, by the way?
Yes.
Is that quite a lot of our great ideas, we can create something beautiful, but we're almost like wizards locked in, our mad scientists in behind four walls kind of a thing, and the real world out there, they come to us and they know their job better than we do.
Yep.
And they're the ones telling us we should check this out.
Yeah.
Which is telling us what inspired you to join forces with Moasure.
100%, because like I'll be 100% honest, when our founder and CEO, his name is Pei, he worked at Autodesk for many, many years. He's an engineer and he's a very brilliant mind when it comes to anything drawing, algorithms, programming, that sort of stuff, right? Speaks all around the country about stuff like that. But he just wanted to take something he knew was powerful, because CAD's in everything. This backdrop behind us, the chairs we're sitting on, all designed in CAD, right? They were. And he knows that. But he also knew that there was a huge barrier of entry to get to it. So he wanted to create it for everybody. Did he create it to be a fencing software, a landscaping software? No, not at all. Home services probably wasn't even on his mind way back then. But he created something that was so useful and so malleable. You know, we've got 60-some thousand plus customers now that use our tool on a daily basis that just found us. They came to us and said, hey, we need the solve to this problem. We think you may be it. And then half the time we go, tell me how that's even going to work. I don't understand, because I'm not a fence pro. I'm not a synthetic turf installer. You know, I'm not a programmer. So at the end of the day, I don't know how these things get solved. I just know that they do. And I don't know the problems the way these guys know the problems. They'll come to me and say, hey, you know, you're saving me 90 minutes of job by doing this. And I'm like, I didn't even know you did that. You know, so that's just simply a piece of value that we get taught by our customer base to help us understand really our value, right? We just get taught our value by our customers. Same thing with Moasure. You know, you guys have had all sorts of people from new industries come and say, oh, this is great for this. And you're like, oh, really? Is it? Why? And then they explain and you're like, I guess it is. You know, and it becomes an entirely new addressable market for us where we can solve problems for people and add value where we never thought possible prior. So yeah, it's purely accidental sometimes, but 90+% of our innovation is driven by our customer base.
And it's humbling in a good way.
In a great way. It's the best way.
I mean, like when Moasure started off, it was just supposed to be used in a small little garden in your backyard. Your man in the digger saw it and said, can it do hardscaping? Can it dig trenches, soil stabilization? Well, heck yeah, let's have a go at that. You put yourself out there and beautiful things can happen. Then, you know, the landscape architects saw it, the builders, the contractors, and obviously the features start, you know, requests are coming in. You say, oh yeah, okay, I can do that. And before you know, you got something amazing. Like just there 2 weeks ago with some measurements coming in from guys doing blast pads at NASA. You know, unbelievable. You get one bit of the angle wrong, you have to be accurate and use a tool that you can depend on, not the thing, otherwise things get incinerated kind of a thing.
Literally destroyed.
But
does not work.
So you realize that, you know, this humble little device that's being created, it's saving lives, or it's, you know, it's doing some good work in building the world that we see around us.
Yeah, and when your guys' you know, initial creators and CEOs built this tool, they weren't thinking it probably was going to be a life-saving tool. But it becomes one by accident in some cases, just because you build something that people are smart enough to connect the dots on. So yeah, you go through, and like I said, the use cases just continue to grow. They continue to pop up. You guys have added 1 million features with your 3D stuff. You've added your wall modes and allow people to go up, down, and around things. And all sorts of new features that have really enabled people to get more out of it as time goes on. And you know, we try to innovate as quick as we can. You guys innovate as fast as you can. And we ran into a thing even last week where people were calling us both and being like, we have these new features, how do those work together? And it was one of those things where we were just constantly back and forth for maybe 2 days talking to each other's teams. I don't know if you remember that, but we were just constantly like, oh, this is new, that's new, the Moasure 3 update came out, does that enable us to do this? And we're like, maybe, because you know, we're just trying to keep up sometimes the same way they are. Just
because, I mean, we threw out some features like color layers and area calc layers and a whole lot more, like bringing a burst of color and being able to highlight critical zones on there. But obviously there'll be some teething problems with that, but just go for it. And I know that the engineers and us all back at home, we're loving fixing these problems to make things smooth for everyone.
They were thrilled, because that just means people are passionate.
It's better than it was before. Absolutely passionate. Couldn't agree more. Actually, I wanted to ask you, you know, you mentioned some things that, what kind of crazy, wild projects have you seen, you know, people use Moasure and ArcSite for? Like, has anyone tried to design a bat cave or an underground lair kind of a thing?
We see a lot of man caves. I saw a she shed recently where a woman was creating a craft shed in her backyard. One of the more interesting ones that the guy was using Moasure for was relaying out his entire fleet of food trucks. So he has a big fleet of food trucks, and he goes all around, and he needs to catalog all the different serial numbers from all the different appliances and all the different space management techniques he's using to make sure that that sort of thing works, right? And semi-recently, I just came across some of those drawings because he had reached out for support on something, and I was like, this is really interesting. And I noticed that he also was using the Moasure integration, because we can see when people are integrated or not to make sure we're giving them the right training and support that they need. And that's what he was doing. He was just going around and mapping stuff out, and it was making things super quick and easy and getting it done in a fraction of the time, because before, if a truck broke down, they had to like go to the truck, they had to go in there, they'd get the serial numbers out. Now all those things are logged in all their ArcSite plans, all their blueprints of their trucks. So if something goes wrong, they can just pull up that thing and say, hey, I need to order a heating coil for this thing. Awesome. So that's a unique one.
Could you have imagined that?
Nope.
Dreamed that up, that would be the use case?
No, I see it all the
That's
time.
crazy.
I'll see drawings and things come in from support cases or just whatever. People share stuff with us and they're like, this is how I'm doing it. We had a turf installer, like maybe 3-4 weeks ago, teach us, honestly, every single one of us, a better way to use our tool than we had been training on for years. We had been teaching people how to do like specific curves and arcs and angles and things, either using the Moasure device or not, in a completely different way. And he was like, oh, I just do it this way. We all do it that way now. Seriously, it's been 2 to 3 weeks, and our entire team now trains differently because he found a better way to use our tool than any of us did in all the years we've been here.
You're going to have to tell me more about that afterwards.
I will.
That's
yes.
amazing.
Yeah, because what he does is he'll measure areas, but if there's a conceptual area where, say, there's 2 things, or he's doing a new putting green, or he's making changes, he'll get the Moasure drawing, plop it in. Mutual customer, I'm not going to share their name just because I don't know if I should.
No.
But they were like, oh, but if I'm doing this, I just marry the lines by doing this, and I was like, that's really interesting. Show me more.
That's a grandmaster move, is it not?
It was unbelievable.
It's not a Hollywood move. That's amazing.
Yep. One of our guys went out to their dealer conference just to provide support, and then their own employee ended up providing us support.
Wow.
So it was incredible.
You come across that's why it's great to come to shows like FENCETECH. Like, we met a guy a while ago, and he comes up to me and he had a Moasure, and like, what are you using it for?
Yeah.
Get this. He rewilds rivers and streams. Like, he is rewilding Mother Nature.
Yeah.
He's messing with Mother Nature. He was crafting it's unreal. I mean, he described to me what he needs. So what are you doing exactly? And he's like backfilling, he's trenching, soil stabilization, digging, trenching, whatever, the whole works. And I'm thinking, my life, you need the infinity ring or something.
Yeah.
You need to be Thanos. You need all the infinity rings.
You need all the power.
What you need. But actually, what he's wielding is Moasure and ArcSite. He loves it.
Yeah. No, and that's one of the best things about my job today is I get the opportunity to spend time face-to-face with a lot of our users, right? Our users, our partners, manufacturers we work with, whatever it may be, right? I have the luxury of having a great job where I can simply meet with these people, talk, learn, pick their brain. I get given so many ideas on a daily basis that I simply just log them all and send them to our engineers and say, hey, what can we do with any of these ideas? And some of them are outlandish, but I always encourage people, no matter how crazy it is, ask. Because ask for your perfect world scenario. Can we get 100% of the way there? Probably not. But if we know what the end goal is, that's the best way for us to get as close as possible. Don't ask for a menial improvement. Give us the vision. Share with us, hey, if it was this, this, and this, it'd be perfect. Because then we can work with partners and companies and whoever we need to get as close to that goal line as possible. Like, your goal, if say you're putting it in football terms, you're not trying to get to the 50, you're not trying to get halfway home. You're trying to get all the way. And you don't want to be like, oh, it'd be a little quicker if I did this, but then I still have these other 3 steps. Tell us what would get you through all the steps, and if we can get to it, we'll get to it, right?
Yeah. So. You and I mean,
that's rather loud.
What's really important, not louder than us. We'll take it on. We'll take them all on.
Yeah, I don't know if the users at home know, but we're on the middle of a busy show floor. So yes, we're kind of segmenting.
There's sparks flying all around us. There's people.
They were literally just sawing through metal behind me.
There's a lot of energy in this place, but we'll try and match it.
Oh, we'll be fine. I've talked to you enough in life. I think we'll be all right.
In fact, we have talked. We've met each other on a few occasions. One time we crossed swords, so to speak, didn't we, at the fence show, where I had to measure an assault course on the Mr. Fence assault course kind of a thing. Then you came behind me and you backed me up and you made sense of what I was saying to the audience. By all of anything I measure cascades into ArcSite. Actually, do you want to talk people through that? Yeah, so it was really cool. So Mr. Fence Academy, a guy named Sean King here in the market, does a lot of education and teaching. He also has Mr. Fence Tools, which is a line. So what he did is he set up essentially an assault course, like you said, where he used a straight line tool of his to lay out a job really quickly. You simply were able to walk and measure that job in
20 seconds or less to get everything, including wall mode, where you went along the back wall because there was a literal like semi-truck behind it.
That's right.
Right, so you did the straight line stuff, you did the walls, all that sort of thing. When you hit, you know, the return button on your puck, or I hit it on my app, and it went right into ArcSite. All I simply did was highlight the work you did, chose the type of fence we were installing, placed a gate or two, and we went from laying out a job, which had no wires on the ground, to having it measured, and to having a fully signable sales proposal in 60 seconds.
Yeah.
It was incredible. That was one of the coolest things. Granted, it was a team of 3 of us putting those things together in order, but at the end of the day, you know, if say it takes you twice as long, 2 minutes is still an hour faster than people are doing it today. So yeah, it was a lot of fun to do, and it was a good teamwork effort. It was recorded and shared and all that stuff through the Mr. Fence channels. But yeah, Sean does a lot of stuff like that to make sure people know that there are tools out there to make their lives easier, right? He makes physical tools. Me and you makes like software related tools. And if you can combine those into that perfect utopian scenario of all the different feature sets, you're going to end up with one heck of a result.
You get something bigger than the sum of the parts. I mean,
Oh,
it was,
100%.
It was fun. You used the word fun. It was fun to measure. It was fun to collaborate with you. It was fun with the collaboration between Moasure and ArcSite.
Yep.
But it was also fun for the audience. I mean, they were psyched.
They had a
feedback.
blast.
They were engaged because they were asking lots of questions afterwards. Made us think more. But actually, I wanted to ask you about what's the future for Moasure and ArcSite in terms of the fencing community now that we're here at FENCETECH?
Yeah, so there's always things that we're doing to build out jobs faster and easier and more accurately, right? Moasure's not going to stop when it comes to innovating new technology, better ways to do things, longer runs, more accuracy, different modes. Like you said, you've added a bunch of stuff recently, right? Today we take in your 2D drawings, but we don't pull in any of those colored modes or zones. Easy opportunity to add, of course. But like you said, you just released those things, so we wait, we see how we can use them, etc. You guys are capturing elevation readings and 3D stuff today that we're not even touching. We're simply just taking your 2D outlines, because in a fence world, yes, that stuff helps to know, but you don't need to draw it. So at the end of the day, when you're coming down to creating your material list and sketches, it's not necessary. But then when we talk about our foundation repair business together, where we help foundation repair and waterproofing folks, and so do you guys, they're mapping the ground and creating topographical maps to show any of the slope changes in the ground and things. Today, we're not taking any of that, right? That's a huge opportunity we could easily take in the future if customer demand keeps getting higher for it. But we obviously have our own roadmap where we're developing all sorts of new tools, including AI tools and things to help people get their library set up and running. So there's less manual setup. We're developing sales assistants. We're adding new integrations. So we have a roadmap, you have a roadmap. Those things just find a very serendipitous way of crossing each other when it matters. And we've had a great, couple years together figuring that out, because half the time you'll be like, here's a new thing we have, and we'll be like, that's brilliant, we need that ASAP. Or we'll be like, we have this new thing, and you're like, our tool can support that by doing this. And it's just sort of worked out because we're both rooted in serving value to the customer. We're listening, we're hearing the same problems, we're trying to solve those. If we're both solving the same problem, we're probably going to have crossover, and it leads to just natural evolution between the tools.
That sounds a beautiful thing, Justin.
It does. It's a lot of fun to say. It sounds kind of corny sometimes when you say it out loud, but it's 100% accurate. It's what happens behind the scenes for those who don't know. I work at a software company. You work at a software, hardware mix type company. But at the end of the day, we're all trying to deliver the same result. So.
Yeah, when you have the right tools and the right hands and the right jobs, things just click. And as you say, you love your job.
Yep.
And
absolutely.
You've more time for the things you love in life. You're not spending time working, at the background of work. You're actually working on the thing that you love, and you're back in home in time for your family and friends.
I'm a people person by nature, by trade, always have been. Communication has always been one of my things I enjoy and one of my strengths, so gives me the opportunity to do it every day. And a lot of these guys who are using these tools are doing what they do every day. They have a passion for fencing, they have a passion for landscaping, they have a passion for it, right? What they don't have a passion for is rolling wheels around, and what they don't have a passion for is trying to redo a drawing 4 times. They don't care about that. They just want that stuff to happen, right? Like, I don't have a passion for sitting in a programming room ever. I don't have to do that, though. I get to do what I get to do because the right people are in the right seats, and they have the right tools, and they have the right plan, so I don't have to be involved. In your company, if you want to be the craftsman and you've got people with the right tools and the right seats in the right places, then you don't have to be involved. You can really build that infrastructure any way you want it and make sure you get the result you need.
Super. Well said, Justin.
Thank you.
Justin, if people want to find out more about ArcSite, where do they need to be looking?
Yeah, easiest place is arcsite.com. We have an online community as well for users. We have a YouTube channel with hundreds of videos, Facebook pages. We're easy to find. I mean, I'm all over the place, it seems like lately, when it comes to just videos and different content out there. But we try to continually produce things that are going to add value to our customers, right? So arcsite.com is where to start. Everything else can kind of link out from there. You can even link to us or link to you from each other's pages. Like if you go to arcsite.com and you go to our partner page, Moasure's the first one you'll see. You can simply go right to that and learn from that. So you can also learn about what other tools work with our tools, right? So yeah, the web pages are definitely the biggest resource and easiest place to find us. There's easy contact us forms on there. We do free training and demos and whatever people want, really anytime they ask for, very similar to you guys. So we try to remain accessible and remain valuable to the people who need us.
So people don't have an excuse to
No,
check us out.
there's no
so
excuse.
Give it a go, give it a
Give it a
whirl.
go. Yep.
Justin, thank you so much for joining
pleasure.
me on the Moasure podcast. You're a good
Thank
man.
you for
One of the
having
good
me.
guys. Thank
Yeah,
you.
anytime. Pleasure.